All right, so exciting. You're going to find a much more inclusive, a much more expressive, a much more diverse expression in darkness and in light, depending on where we're at. Because, as I said last week, we have to understand that our obligation is not to the past, our obligation is to the future. And the kingdom of God, this wonderful thing called the kingdom of God that emerged and exploded with Jesus, is still going on after 2,000 years. And I'm interested that we find ways for that wonderful kingdom to touch lives, because it is a new day, and the whole spirit of the gospel is about new days consistently. So it's great to be here. Thank you for everybody who's helped us get to this moment. Our day started very early with Danny and I on the radio this morning, which was a lot of fun, and appreciated Danny being with us and just able to get some word out there. And thanks to Radio York and Jonathan Cowup this morning for making us welcome and giving us some good questions to answer. That was wonderful. Also for people like Claire who've done this wonderful artwork of the baobab tree. The wisdom of the baobab tree is that no one individual can embrace it. And really that's the wisdom of this house. We know not one individual can embrace what is the fullness of that truth. And you can dim those lights again because it's gone awfully bright now. I feel very exposed. It's also been interesting, as you can imagine, when you're doing anything new, 100 things can go wrong and probably will. It's called Murphy's Law, and I don't know what Murphy ever did to get that assigned to him, but it has been a little bit like that. But that's good because it's all part of the challenge. Now, the way I was raised was this. If stuff went wrong, one group would tell you it's because you're doing wrong, and so God is judging you. And then the other group would tell you it's because you're doing right, and the devil is opposing you. I think both of them were probably nonsense. It snowed because the weather's changed and it's winter, and it might snow because it's winter, and you might get some printing errors, and you might get some issues. This stuff might go on, but we don't care, right? We're on a quest, and we have a purpose. Now, 500 years ago, a guy called Martin Luther instituted something and instigated something called the Reformation, which has affected the shape of the church. However, here was the problem. It was 500 years before Martin Luther instigated the Reformation that the last big shift happened, and it was 500 years before that, before the one before that happened, and we're 500 years on. How many of you know that tends to have been the pattern of the church? It takes 500 years to catch up with what we're supposed to be doing. Well, we're not like that, and that's why we're doing what we're doing, because we're part of a reformation for a new world, new beginnings, a new life, a new world for you. And this is part of our reformation that we are committed to and excited about. And we called it Q for that reason, because we're on a quest. And also, show me your shirt. There you go, look. Some people are buying right into this, which is absolutely wonderful. So thanks for being here. Thanks for making it in. You'll have to figure out how long you need to get here on a Sunday as opposed to a Saturday, and what the parking issues are and all that stuff. You'll have to figure that out as you go along, but I know that you will, and I appreciate you because we'll be doing this for a little while yet, and the problem's going to get worse, not better, so you better figure it out now, okay, for parking and stuff. Yeah, wonderful. So, it's great to team tonight, and I'm going to hand over to Beth.
I was walking slow, so the slide might come up, so you could see it first. We have suggested that people can send stuff into us every week that has inspired them. So I want to remind you now that it is a great idea. If something has inspired you, whether that be a song or a slide, like these are all over social media, the internet, newspapers, anything you pick up in the street, bus stops, you see something, take a picture of it. If there is something that inspires you in the week, find it and send it to us, and we will try and fit that in at some point in the program over the next coming weeks, because we're not all the same, are we? And we all see stuff differently. And so we want to encourage for you to participate in this and it not just be us. Now, Amy sent this one in this week, I think, if I'm right, which is from Aladdin, A Whole New World. And then I've suggested a video, which we're going to show in a minute. And I kind of wanted to link the two because I don't know who of you here has seen Aladdin. I'd guess probably quite a high percentage of you. And it's not, Amy had sent it and said one for the kids, but actually, like, I liked Aladdin was kind of my childhood. So, and I'd say I was getting older now. So if you're older than me, then just stick with me. That's all right. We'll stay at this age. That's good. But I loved Aladdin. I loved the song. I love everything about it. And I don't know if you remember the scene that comes with this song where she sings a whole new world, a thrilling chase and a wondrous place. But I was thinking about the scene. I was thinking, if you haven't seen Aladdin, to fill you in, there is a princess who is in a castle, and palace. She has been there her whole life because she was told that this is the safe place for her to be. This is where she should live, that she shouldn't step out of the grounds or out of the boundaries and restrictions that were put there because it's safer for her to stay in here. And as she gets older, she starts to question that and say, hang on a minute, but what's outside of here? What is beyond what I have been restricted with? Now, there are certain lessons we shouldn't learn from Aladdin, because the point at which she then discovers a whole new world, it involves her jumping off a balcony onto a flying carpet. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't suggest that's a great idea to try at home. But what I would say is that leap that she took in the hands of somebody else took bravery and courage. She had been told her entire life to stay here, that this area is safe for you, that you are protected here, you are protected with these people. And suddenly somebody said to her, but there's more. There is more for you to see. There is more for you to experience. There is an adventure awaiting you on the other side of this wall. You just have to jump. Now, that jump that she took was quite quick. If you've seen the film, she literally leaps and the whole thing ducks a little bit and then off they fly. And that's quite quick. And for some of us, we have spent our entire lives in a walled, boundaried area that said somebody else has told us that this is safe, that this is the thing you know, this is what you understand. Stay in here, it's safe, it's fine. We'll look after you if you stay with us and inside the boundaries that we have set. But actually, she took this leap and discovered something more. But like I said, that leap was quick, and that leap isn't always quick, is it? Stepping out of our comfort zones isn't always a quick jump in the dark and go off, and that's fine, and the experience is amazing, it's all fantastic. So I want you to watch this clip that we've brought for you tonight, which is from Elizabeth, and it is an explorer explaining to Queen Elizabeth what it is like to go on an adventure and discover the new world, to take that leap, to go all the way out there. And actually, it might be dark for a while, and it might be difficult, and it might be uncomfortable, but you know what? When it comes up on the horizon, the new world is incredible. So enjoy the rest of your night and enjoy the clip.
For weeks, you see nothing but the horizon, perfect and empty. You live in the grip of fear. Fear of storms, fear of sickness on board, fear of the immensity. So you must drive that fear down deep into your belly. Study your charts. Watch your compass. Pray for a fair wind and hope. Pure, naked, fragile hope.
Majesty, the Archduke and the court are waiting.
Let them wait. Go on, Mr. Raleigh. You were hoping?
At first, it's no more than a haze on the horizon. So you watch. You watch. And it's a smudge. A shadow on the far water. For a day. For another day. The stain slowly spreads along the horizon, taking form. Until on the third day, you let yourself believe. You dare to whisper the word. Land. Land. Life. Resurrection. The true adventure. Coming out of the vast unknown, out of the immensity, into new life. That, Your Majesty, is the new world.
Land.
The whole issue of New World is very much a Bible theme, which is expressed in a lot of different ways, but at the core of it is all this concept of a new world. Now, some people have got that so far in the future that they're so heavenly minded that they're no earthly good. And it seems that the only way to change, according to that principle, is to die. If you die, you get a new world. But you see, the resurrection of Jesus was about the new world comes to you in your world, to renew your world now. Now, we may not be able to change the globe, the face of the planet, but I do know that this power that has been given us can change your world and my world in the here and in the now. Now, some of you may find the Bible a difficult book. I don't particularly find it difficult, but that's probably because I've been raised with it and reared with it, and I'm very familiar with it. But there are some beginnings in the Bible that actually take a hold of this theme and thrust this theme right from the very beginning. Now, I want you to bear in mind that when books like the book of Genesis were written, which was the first book in the Bible, nobody was writing anything. So we read it as written text, but back then nobody could write anything or was writing anything because it wasn't a done thing. It was the ancient world. And so what happened is that things were communicated orally. And through that oral communication, storytelling was extremely important. And so much of that early part of the Bible particularly is rich in storytelling. But the wonderful thing is there's always more to the story than you think is in the story. And one of those stories I want to bring you to tonight, just for a few minutes, I have a couple of shots at this, is there's a very significant character in the Bible called Abram, who had his name changed to Abraham, and he's very significant. But something happened to this guy one wonderful day because he had received a promise about goodness in his life from God. Now, I want you to know that God always starts in our life with the promise of goodness. In one of the old songs that how many of you are familiar with the song Amazing Grace? The guy who wrote that wrote a verse that we don't often sing in our circles. It says, "The Lord has promised good to me." And if you read the Bible from the beginning, it's not this horrendous book by this horrendous God who's trying to beat you into line because he's viciously cruel and just wants people to be subservient to him. But it talks about someone who blesses with goodness right from the very beginning. So the question is that goodness real? Can I rely on that goodness? Can I expect that goodness? And so this story of Abraham was this. Abraham was questioning that goodness, the promise that had come to him. So God, the divine, spoke to him and he said, here's what I want you to do. He said, I want you to take a heifer, a goat. Where'd you get a heifer and a goat today? They were common to him. And a couple of birds. Anyway, the issue is, for the sake of argument, he had to take several animals, and he knew immediately what he was supposed to do with them. Now, the problem is, when you translate this into our modern thinking and our modern world, it sounds bloodthirsty, it sounds gory, it sounds warmongering, it sounds horrible, but back then it wasn't horrible, and I'm going to explain why. What Abraham had to do was take the carcasses of those animals and cut them down the middle this way, right? Top to toe. Cut them down the middle so you had two halves of a carcass. Now, how many of you know that's going to produce a lot of blood? It's going to be really messy. But you see, back then it was important because to those people, it wasn't about destroying animals or killing animals or being gory or liking gruesome things. They believed that blood really meant something and that the life was in the blood. So the highest currency of promise was the currency of blood. Do you now understand why the cross figures in the story of the beautiful gospel? Because blood means something about the intent. And so he was told to do this. So he divided these carcasses, and he knew what to do because it was a common practice in that culture. And he was to separate the carcasses, one half either side, separate them. And of course, it would create a tunnel up the middle, and that tunnel would be covered in blood. Nasty, horrible, stinky, vile. But the idea was that you would walk with the person who you were making a promise with through this blood, and in doing that, you were saying, by my life by the very essence of my existence, by everything that I am, I promise to keep this covenant, this agreement with you today. So here's Abraham and here's God. But this is what God does. He did something very wonderful. When the time came for the two of them to walk through this blood to make a promise to each other, God puts Abraham to sleep. And Abraham's deep, fast asleep. And I'll tell you why he was when I come back on. Fast asleep. And while he's fast asleep, God walks through all of this blood between these divided animals because something extremely special and extremely important was happening that day that would guarantee goodness in the life of Abraham. So now Danny's got a song.
So much I don't know, so much mystery, but I believe the truth lives inside of me. It beats in every heart, the beauty in the mess, the hope within the pain. On this eternal quest, I find you in everything, and everywhere I go. I see you in everyone I know. You are. A diamond shines in me. Divine DNA, it's the immortal rock that no one takes away. Now I'm a living stone, beautifully redeemed, living in your family. We're here to build a dream. I find you in everything, and everywhere I go, you are. Everyone I know, you are. Let's go! Thank you very much. Oh, that went squeaky. Thank you very much. Well, I wanted to bring that song because, to me, it brought a message of, I think, hope. Because for me, often, God has been something that can be so much of a mystery, you don't know how to pin it down. But what I love about the idea of Q and the quest is that each of us have got a different story. And each of us are on a quest to find that something and define that undefinable. So we have someone very special that's coming on to share their little something of the indefinable. So give it up, please, for the lovely Ruth Davenport.
Put your mind at rest, I'm not about to sing. If you don't know me, I'm Ruth, and I work as a teaching assistant in a reception class. And tonight, on the launch of QChurch, I'd just like to give you a little phonics lesson. So basically, every letter in the alphabet, we've got Q, but every letter also, phonics is actually a study of sounds. It's all about sounds, and every letter has a sound as well. So for example, the word cat, if I just said to you C-A-T, that would give you no help at all in reading the word cat. So you need to say the sounds in the word, which is, there is a point to this, so bear with me. K, k, at. And then as you say them faster, you blend it, k, at, cat, and you can hear the word black cat because you blended the sounds. So all letters have a sound. And then it gets interesting because the letters start to join together in what's called digraphs, where letters can join, like S and H can join to make a sh sound. They don't, together, like in the word shop, you wouldn't say up, it's sh up. So you can get the idea of the sounds. Well, Q, on its own, it very, very rarely, it doesn't make a sound. But Q actually has to join in a digraph with the letter. I know Emily and Megan know this. They join with the letter U. And what sound do they make then, Megan and Emily? Que. They make que because they've joined as a digraph. So Q, but Q cannot make a sound without U, the letter U. There is a little slide. I think Chris did me a little slide. Oh, it's up there, right? So Q, you can't make a sound without U. But then, obviously, the QChurch. I'm just saying that QChurch cannot make a sound without you people, because we are, the sound coming out of this church is the frequency of love, it's of joy, it's of freedom and acceptance, and that's the sound that we want to make as a Q church, but we can't do it without you, because everybody, we're all a part of this and we all need to join. So let's just join together as a digraph. So we'll make the sound together. So thank you very much for my little phonics lesson.
That was awesome. That was so brilliantly explained in an absolute essence of what we are, but how we're going to make it work. It's absolutely a collaboration. It can't possibly be just the people that you see up here. It's such a wonderful way forward. I'm so delighted about Q. And I think going forward, it's going to mean more for all of us. I appreciate that we're asking for the kids to stay in and to sit down. Now, for the older ones amongst us, you know, some of us might think, well, we always have to sit down in church. At what point? But the thing is, life moves on. And just, you know, and we are moving on with that life. So we want to be relevant. We want to stay ahead. And so we're really thankful for the children for staying in. But you get some great time afterwards for half an hour to have a play. So we're really excited. So stewards, can you just come down just to be ready for our Pay It Forward? Pay It Forward is the way that we change lives. We don't want to be a church that has a thermometer outside trying to raise £600 for somebody who might be in need in 8 months' time. We want to be able to respond in a heartbeat to need where we see it. And needs come in so many different ways. It's just not financial, but the finance is what helps us to do stuff. And we're so passionate about changing lives and giving hope and sowing into people. So this is our way of doing it. So we're going to take the piff. Pay it forward. So are we getting ready to take the piff, people? Piff, piff, Okay, so stewards, take it away and let's change some lives. Now then, by the way, if you're about to write a cheque to us, 4 and 5 figure cheques, that's fine. But can you still make them out to the Rock of York until we change those sorts of things? That's brilliant. Now, we got some lovely gifts when we came in, some lovely inspirational little welcome gifts. However, there might be some people around saying, I didn't get one. Put your hand up if you didn't get a lovely little gift when you came in, if you managed to sneak in. Is there anybody? Anybody not get one? Oh, there's a pay it forward here from Betty, please. Have you got it? I think we've all got one, so that's all good. So Amy's going to run round if there's nobody that hasn't got one. Parking permits next week. What? Sorry? Danny. Oh, yes. But not everything's edible. Everything is permissible, but not necessarily beneficial to you. Bit of scripture there. Bit of scripture. So just watch it, going wisely. Now, on Wednesday, we're going to be changing to something called IQ. Okay, now for those of you who know about IQ means intelligent quotient. But we're changing that because we're Q. We want to look at a more intelligent, inspirational way of sharing the more beautiful gospel, because there's been some heck of mischief done over the years in terms of a real distortion of what and who God is and his love for us. So Wednesdays are really our explanation and exploration of that. And it's going to come in different guises, just like you've been used to. So there might be things where we're going to have a teaching, where we're going to really take a deeper dive into some things, or it might be a celebration of gratitude of things that are happening in our life where we do raise the glasses, lots of different things. This particular Wednesday is going to be more of a lab type session, a teaching session with Anth. Now, many of you will have heard about, particularly for those of you in business and in work, about you've got to start with the end in mind. And it's always about, in business, in life, you've got to be clear about where you're going to, get clear on that, and then you work backwards into where you are now. Anth's going to turn that completely on its head on Wednesday, and he's going to look at something about beginning with the beginning in mind. Because the kingdom, God's kingdom, is all about new beginnings every single day. And he's going to explore what that looks like for us and how it can really bring some life to us. So please do come along, 7:30, can't wait to see you here. Now, one thing that we are really, really keen to do in Q is to really pursue truth. And we want to bring truth to you, because there's things that once we learn new things that are going to be helpful for us to live more successful lives, that's what we want to bring to you. And we've found something this week that we think is going to be hugely life-giving, hugely life-changing for many people. So can we just put that first slide up for me? Not that one. That is going to be life-changing. There's no two ways about it. A police officer called the station on his radio. I have an interesting case here. An old lady shot her husband for stepping on the floor she just mopped. Have you arrested the woman? Not yet, floor's still wet. Now, there's some truth in there, particularly for some people here, because there's truth everywhere. Be careful. If that floor's mopped, stay off it now. Bit of fun, though, going forward. One thing that we want to do in these sections here are to celebrate life, celebrate things that are happening at home, around the globe, where we want to stand with people and say, absolutely, that is worth shouting about, that is worth celebrating. Now, many of you know about the hurricanes that have been happening across the world recently. In Puerto Rico, there was a school that had been affected by the hurricane, and it lost its electricity for not just days, not just weeks, but months. Now, there'll be some kids here thinking, oh, that sounds amazing. But for these kids out there who wanted to learn, for the teachers who wanted to bring, they still rocked up day in, day out, trying to teach in the dark, trying to do things. And then all of a sudden, after months and months and months, the electricity was restored. And we're going to show you a quick video. And what I want you to really catch the spirit of is the joy of coming out of the darkness into the light and thinking, everything looks different, everything feels different, I can see new things. And that is the spirit of Q. And we want you to catch the spirit of these kids as they see the light.
You all enjoying yourself? Good. One of the things that we really wanted to do in the move to Q is create an environment in our house where we could allow everybody to give a little bit of themselves. And one of the things that I've realized over the years as we've deconstructed a lot of the things that we used to do is that not any one person feels the same, responds the same, reacts the same. Each person is wired slightly differently. And all of us will know that there'll be songs that we can listen to on the radio that just seem to touch us right here, and yet someone else would listen to it and think, doesn't do anything for me. And that really is the beauty of diversity and the beauty of the vastness of this thing that we call life, is that if we were all wired the same, we wouldn't kind of be learning from one another and we wouldn't be experiencing different things. Now, that in itself can also bring potential issues in that when we don't all feel the same, it can sometimes feel a little bit uncomfortable because people might present something that we think, oh, I've never really thought of it like that before, and that doesn't really do anything for me. And yet, I really believe that that is the way forward, in that we can learn something from everybody. And if we just open our minds and our hearts, there is something to receive. The song that I'm about to do now, we actually, one of my dance groups performed for the Yada show before Christmas. And it's called Tell Your Heart to Beat Again. And we really felt that the lyrics represented us moving really from something that we kind of feel needed to die, and we're now reigniting ourselves as we move into Q and really transferring that to us in our day-to-day lives. You might feel that things have become quite stagnant and quite stale and things are just mundane and the same. But the fact is, you know, at every second in your life you have the opportunity to reignite. And I always think of it like defibrillators. That sense of that things start to go shaky and feel like they're stopping. But with just a spark of something, of inspiration, of truth, it can basically get your heart starting again, which is absolutely incredible. And also for some of you who have felt that worship had to be done a particular way, or there's a certain style that you like, this song particularly might work for you, in that I really feel like it's a song that everybody can connect to, and that it really will give you an opportunity to listen to the words and see how it applies to your life. And I'd also like you to feel that if you want, you can sing along with me and join in. But again, sit, stand, do whatever you feel comfortable, but I really hope that this speaks to you.
You're shattered like you've never been before. The life you knew in 1,000 pieces on the floor. And what falls short in times like these, when this world drives you to your knees. You think you're never gonna get back to the you that used to be. Tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday's a closing door. You don't live there anymore. Say goodbye to where you've been, and tell your heart to beat again. Beginning, just let that word wash over you. It's all right now. Love's healing hands have pulled you through. So get back up, take step one. Leave the darkness, feel the sun. 'Cause your story's far from over, and your journey's just begun. Tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday's a closing door. You don't live there anymore. And say goodbye to where you've beat again. Let every heart break. Let every scar be a picture that reminds you who has carried you this far. 'Cause love sees farther than you ever could. In this moment, heaven's working everything up for your good. Tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday's a closing door. You don't live there anymore. Say goodbye to where you've been and tell your heart to beat again. Your heart to beat again. Beat again. Oh, tell your heart to beat again. Let's sing it together. Tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday's a closing door. You don't live there anymore. Say goodbye to where you've been and tell your heart to beat again. Tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday is a closing door. You don't live there anymore. Say goodbye to where you've been. Will you stand and sing it with me? Tell your heart to beat again. Tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday's a closing door. You don't live there anymore. Say goodbye to where you've been and tell your heart to beat again. In every heartache, in every scar, be a picture that reminds you who has carried you this far. 'Cause love sees farther than you ever could. In this moment, heaven's working everything out for your good. Do you believe that? So tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday's a closing door. You don't live there anymore. Say goodbye to where you've been and tell your heart to beat again. Your heart to beat again. Beat again. Oh, so tell your heart to beat again. Thank you.
All right, I'm sure that many of you could use a prayer and would like to be part of a prayer. And before we finish tonight, we will definitely give you that opportunity. Remember where we were in our story? We got the carcasses of the animals. We've got this channel of blood. And we've got Abraham and God. And God desperately wants to cement this promise of good, not just in Abraham's life, but for generations to come. And one of the things about this covenant, it was known as an eternal covenant, which meant that once it was made, it could never and would never be broken. However, God put Abraham to sleep before walking through the carcasses in the blood. Now you say, well, why did he do that? There are two reasons. Number one, because the weak link in this covenant, this promise, this agreement, this arrangement was not God, it was Abraham. And it was almost guaranteed that if Abraham had to be the initiator of this promise becoming reality, that it would fail. So God in his goodness puts Abraham to sleep. So Abraham is not expected to make any promises to God. But God makes all the promises, not even to Abraham, but to himself. So God himself walks through this blood and promises to himself that the blessing that he said would be Abraham's, Abraham can have that simply by receiving it, because there's no way you can mess it up, because if you didn't make something, you can't break something. If you didn't make a promise, you can't break a promise. If you didn't make a covenant, you can't break a covenant. So God took the weak link out of the equation. Now, the problem is far too much emphasis in the Christian gospel has been placed upon your responsibility towards God. How you live, what you do, how you behave. When God in Christ at the cross was reproducing what happened with Abraham, the body of Jesus was broken. There was blood, and God was passing through the body of Jesus, making a promise to himself that you would become the beneficiary of something that you could not break because you did not make. The Christian gospel is not about how you manage to please God enough to be happy with you. It's about the fact God started off pleased with you. He's never not been pleased with you. He's made a promise that he took all the responsibility for, and you don't have to work for it, strive for it. It's not about God looking over your shoulder and judging you under some kind of vicious law that says if you don't tick these boxes and reach this standard, you will never be good enough. God says it's not about you being good enough, it's about me being good enough. And if I'm good enough for the both of us. And if you live in my goodness will fill your life. My goodness will fill your heart. My goodness will fill your days. And all you have to do is live in it. I'm glad that Abraham woke up after all that had been done to the awareness that he had become a beneficiary of something that would last forever, that God had promised to himself. Wake up. And understand you are a beneficiary of a promise that God made to himself on your behalf in his goodness, so that his goodness will change your life. I want you to step into that grace today. This is what the Bible calls the new covenant. You only have a new covenant if there was an old covenant. The old covenant was all about you keeping rules and obeying the law and trying to please God. The new covenant is about God's gift of life that you receive. You don't achieve, you receive, and it's there for you tonight. So I want to free you from guilt and condemnation and shame and inadequacy, all those things you can give away today and receive that grace that then shows up of us understanding what the forgiveness of God looks like.
love is strong, it is furious. Your love is sweet, your love is wild, and it's waking heart to life.
Your love is deep, your love is wide, and it covers us. Your love is fierce, your love is strong, it is glorious. Your love is sweet, your love is wide, and it's waking heart to life. Your love is deep, your love is wide, and it covers us. Your love is fierce, your love is strong, it is glorious. Your love is sweet, your love is wide, and it's waking heart to life. Your love is deep, your love is wide, and it covers us. Your love is fierce, your love is strong, it is glorious. Your love is sweet, your love is wide, and it's waking heart to
All right, guess what's coming real soon? Life Zone. But before that, how many of you got one of these tonight? Put your hand up if you got one of these tonight. How many of you said, oh no, please, I'm not worthy? How many of you said, I'm too wicked? How many of you said, oh, I'm too ashamed? How many of you just took it? Because you didn't think there was any reason why you shouldn't take it, because you realized it was a gift, a free gift, at no cost to you, and so you had no problem receiving it. I want you to understand this gift of life that comes from God is just like that little gift that we gave to you, but the problem is when the value of the gift goes up, you start wondering whether you're worthy, whether you deserve it, whether you should take it. But God's gift of life to you, He treats the same as this little gift of stuff that we gave to you. And He's just looking for you to take it and say thank you. And when you take it and say thank you, guess who it belongs to? It belongs to you. We're not going to come round and take this off you. We also haven't got video surveillance to make sure that you live right this week. And if you don't, we're going to demand the gift back. It's a gift. It belongs to you. And you live in the joy of that gift. This covenant that God made with us, this new covenant, is a free gift from God. His life is a free gift. And I want you tonight just to receive it and accept it like you did this little gift, because He made you worthy to receive it. He thinks you're worth it, and He wants you to have it. So receive it and live in it. Let's have a little prayer, shall we? Father, for every life in here today, young, old, in the middle, those who think they're good, those who think they're bad, those who think they're worthy, those who think they're unworthy, I pray that your gift of grace and love will touch every life tonight, that every person will feel your loving arms around them, you enfolding them, and know that your goodness is what matters, not our goodness, and that we can leave here tonight living in your goodness and experiencing your goodness because it's your free gift to us. In Jesus' name, amen. I hope you've enjoyed it tonight. And I think we're about there. Right.
Wake up. Everyone is looking for a convincing story that gives them a sense of purpose. We have one. People are precious. Your life counts. You can thrive. When we know who we are, we know what to do. We believe in new beginnings and second chances. In a joy that overcomes. In a love that endures. We are participating in the restoration of all things. God is love. God is on your side. God keeps no record of wrongs. God is in you. Jesus reveals God's heart. Jesus offers us a revolutionary way of living that we are choosing to follow. We enter this sacred space through faith, hope, and love. Faith is your decision to place your belief and trust in the goodness and faithfulness of God. Hope is the confident expectation that the last word has not been spoken. Love is felt, received, and done. We have been to hell and back and found it's not there, and discovered heaven is where we begin. Welcome to our house.
Hello everybody, it's time for Life Zone. So if you are at primary school or between the age of 5 and 11, then follow my amazing team that are coming down the aisles now in their purple and yellow t-shirts. Follow them through this door, this side of stage, or this door, this side of stage. We are going to play a load of games, have a load of fun, and discover what a quest is. So come on through to Life Zone. Parents, if you have kids that are of preschool age, then we have a nursery upstairs where you can drop them off. Up this way, up by the ladies' toilets. Other than that, please remember to pick your children up at 5:30. Thank you, bye!